High-Arctian Zilith stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Engineering Institute, her crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars as she contemplated the latest failure. The ancient technological marvel they'd discovered spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy was acting up again, and this time, the consequences could be catastrophic. Another system-wide fluctuation. High-Arctian, reported Junior Engineer Crix, his holographic form flickering with anxiety. The Centauri colonies are reporting critical power failures, and the Rigel Scepter's quantum communication grid is experiencing, well, we're not quite sure what to call it. "Try me," Zilith said, her voice resonating through the crystalline chamber. "It's humming, High-Arctian. The entire grid is humming, and somehow reorganizing matter at the quantum level into patterns we've never seen before." The ancient technology, dubbed the Starwave by its discoverers, had been both a blessing and a curse since its discovery. Spanning thousands of light years, it provided seemingly unlimited energy to hundreds of worlds, but its increasingly erratic behavior threatened the stability of the entire galactic community. First Engineer Ixel, a being of pure energy contained within an intricate mechanical shell, glided into the chamber. "The Council of Scientific Excellence demands answers, High-Arctian. We've applied every known principle of quantum mechanics, every theorem of advanced harmonics. Nothing explains these anomalies." Zilith's crystalline form darkened slightly, the equivalent of a frown. "What about the human?" The chamber fell silent. Even the ever-present hum of quantum computers seemed to quiet at the mention of bringing in an outsider, especially a human. "Surely you can't be serious." Ixel's energy form pulsed with alarm. "The humans are barely a Class 3 civilization. They still debate the nature of dark matter, for Creator's sake." And yet, Zilith turned to face her subordinates. "Dr. Jasmine Patel has developed theories about quantum resonance that even our most advanced AIs find intriguing." "Dr. Patel is considered eccentric even by human standards," Crix interjected, pulling up a holographic display. "Her papers on quantum consciousness and technological empathy have been rejected by every major institution on Earth." "Precisely why we need her," Zilith declared. "We've tried everything conventional, everything logical, everything expected. The Starwave defies all of it. Perhaps it's time for something unconventional." Within days, Dr. Jasmine Patel arrived at the Institute, and she was everything they feared and more. She wore practical clothing covered in patches from various Earth space missions, her dark hair tied back in a messy bun, and carried what appeared to be ancient Earth musical instruments along with her scientific equipment. "This is incredible," she exclaimed, spinning around to take in the crystal architecture of the Institute. "The harmonic resonance of this place alone. Have you measured the quantum fluctuations in the crystal matrices when they interact with conscious thought?" Ixel's energy form flickered with barely contained disdain. "Dr. Patel, we're dealing with a crisis that threatens the stability of hundreds of worlds. This is hardly the time for musical appreciation." Jasmine smiled, pulling out what appeared to be a modified quantum scanner merged with an Earth theremin. "Everything is music, First Engineer Ixel. Everything. The universe itself sings. We just haven't learned to listen properly yet." Before anyone could stop her, she activated her device. The crystal chambers immediately responded, resonating with a harmony that made every being present experience something unprecedented. Zilith felt it through her crystalline structure. Ixel's energy form pulsed in rhythm, and even the holographic Crix seemed to dance slightly. "There," Jasmine said softly, adjusting some controls. "Did you feel that? The Starweave isn't malfunctioning. It's trying to communicate. The question is, what's it trying to say?" Zilith moved closer, her curiosity overriding centuries of scientific orthodoxy. "You believe the Starweave is conscious?" "Not exactly," Jasmine replied, now pulling out more equipment that seemed to be a bizarre fusion of Earth technology and quantum engineering. "But I believe its creators built it to respond to consciousness, to harmony, to resonance between intelligent beings. Your conventional approaches fail because you're treating it like a machine when it's really an instrument, a grand piano stretched across the galaxy, waiting for someone to play it properly. Ixal's containment shell hummed with skepticism. And you believe you can play this instrument? Jasmine's eyes sparkled with excitement as she finished setting up her equipment. No, first engineer. I believe we all can. Together. That's what it's been waiting for all along. Just then, alarms blared throughout the Institute. The Starweave was active again, but this time, instead of chaos, the energy patterns seemed to be responding to Jasmine's presence, creating complex geometric patterns in subspace that rippled across light years. Fascinating, Jasmine whispered, watching the patterns form. It's not just random fluctuations. Look at the fractal patterns, the quantum harmonies. It's like it's been practicing all this time, waiting for someone to recognize the song. High Archon Zilith watched as the human scientist worked, her unconventional methods challenging everything they thought they knew about the ancient technology. Perhaps, she thought, that was exactly what they needed. Someone who could hear the music in the machine, the harmony in the chaos. The greatest discovery in galactic history was about to be rewritten by a human who dared to think that even technology could sing. The next 3 days at the Galactic Engineering Institute proved that bringing in a human either was the most brilliant decision or the most catastrophic mistake in the facility's history. No one could quite decide which. Dr. Patel, you cannot simply attach quantum resonators to the Institute's primary crystal matrix. First Engineer Ixal's energy form pulsed with such agitation that his containment shell emitted sparks. These are delicate instruments calibrated over centuries. And they're singing completely off-key. Jasmine interrupted, not looking up from her work. She had transformed a section of the main laboratory into what she called her orchestra pit, a chaotic array of hybrid instruments that merge Earth's primitive technology with advanced quantum mechanics. Listen to this frequency pattern. She adjusted a dial on what appeared to be a modified Earth synthesizer connected to the Institute's quantum core. A complex series of harmonics filled the chamber, making the crystal walls resonate in response. The pattern was beautiful, but somehow unsettling, like a song played in a minor key. The Starweave's base frequency is shifting, she explained, pointing to a holographic display showing energy patterns spanning multiple star systems. It's not random degradation. It's a deliberate modulation, like someone slowly changing the tune of a massive instrument. High Archon Zilith floated closer, her crystalline form absorbing and refracting the quantum harmonics. Explain. Every technology has a signature, a kind of technological fingerprint, Jasmine said, pulling up more displays. But the Starweave signature keeps changing, evolving. Traditional engineering sees this as malfunction because it's looking for stability. But what if stability isn't the goal? What if change, evolution, is exactly what it's designed for? Junior Engineer Crix's holographic form flickered with interest. But the power fluctuations are threatening entire worlds. Yesterday, the Proxima colonies experienced total darkness for 17 minutes. Because we're fighting the changes instead of working with them, Jasmine replied. She reached into her bag and pulled out what looked like an ancient Earth violin, modified with quantum sensors along its strings. Sometimes you need to follow the melody to understand the symphony. She began to play, and the instrument produced sounds that shouldn't have been possible. Quantum harmonics merged with classical Earth music in ways that made the laws of physics scratch their heads in confusion. The Starweave responded immediately, its energy patterns shifting to match the frequencies. Impossible, Ixal whispered, his energy form dimming in shock. Look at the pattern resolution, Crix exclaimed, analyzing the data streams. The quantum fluctuations are stabilizing, but they're forming new configurations we've never seen before. Jasmine continued playing, her eyes closed in concentration. The Starweave isn't just a power distribution system. It's a quantum neural network spanning the galaxy. But instead of processing data through traditional computational methods, it processes it through harmonic resonance. The power distribution is just a side effect. High-Archan Zilith watched as new holographic displays appeared, showing the starweave's energy patterns forming complex, almost organic structures across space. You're saying it's alive? Not exactly, Jasmine said, finally lowering her instrument. But it's designed to evolve, to grow, to respond to the consciousness of the beings using it. The problem started because we've been treating it like a static machine instead of a dynamic system capable of learning and adaptation. But before she could elaborate, alarms blared throughout the Institute. The starweave's energy patterns were shifting again, but this time with unprecedented intensity. Multiple systems failing. Crix reported, his holographic form frantically processing data. The quantum harmonics are cascading across all sectors. No, Jasmine said, studying the patterns with growing excitement. Not failing, transforming. Look at the fractal patterns, the quantum entanglement signatures. It's not breaking down, it's waking up. The chamber's crystal walls began to pulse with energy as the starweave's influence reached the Institute itself. Complex geometric patterns formed in the air, constructed from pure quantum energy, spinning and evolving like living mathematical equations. This is madness, Ixal declared, his containment shell vibrating with concern. We must shut it down before. Before what? Jasmine challenged, her eyes reflecting the dancing patterns of quantum light. Before we discover what it's actually meant to do. The beings who built this weren't just engineers, first engineer Ixal. They were artists, composers on a cosmic scale. They created something that doesn't just distribute power, it distributes consciousness itself. High-Archan Zilith moved through the holographic displays, her crystalline form absorbing and refracting the quantum patterns. Consciousness distribution. That's theoretically impossible. Theory, Jasmine smiled, reaching for another of her modified instruments, is just what we call the music we haven't learned to play yet. And this song, it's just getting started. As if in response, the starweave's energy patterns surged again, creating new harmonics that made every piece of technology in the Institute resonate in symphony. The patterns were no longer random. They were forming something, building toward a revelation that would either solve the crisis or tear the galaxy apart. And somewhere in the chaos of quantum harmonics and impossible theories, a human played her strange instruments, conducting an orchestra that spanned the stars themselves. The Council of Scientific Excellence demands an immediate shutdown of all experiments. The holographic representatives voice boom through the Institute's main chamber, there form a constellation of angry light points. These unauthorized modifications to the starwave cannot continue. High-Archan Zilith stood her ground, her crystalline form radiating calm authority. Counselor, for the first time in a century, we're seeing genuine progress in understanding the system's behavior. Progress. The counselor's form flickered with indignation. Half the Andromeda arm is experiencing quantum distortions. The Sirius Collective reports their AI networks are spontaneously generating poetry. This isn't progress, it's chaos. In the background, Jasmine Patel continued her work, surrounded by a growing array of modified instruments, each one connected to the starwave in ways that defied conventional physics but produced undeniable results. Her latest creation, a fusion of Earth's ancient theremin and quantum harmonics, filled the air with haunting melodies that made subatomic particles dance. That's it, she muttered, adjusting frequencies while consulting holographic displays. The harmonics are aligning. The pattern is becoming clearer. First engineer Ixal's energy form pulsed with reluctant fascination. Despite his initial skepticism, he couldn't deny the data streaming across their monitors. The starwave wasn't just responding to Jasmine's unconventional methods. It was evolving, its quantum structures reorganizing into increasingly complex patterns. Dr. Patel, Crix called out, his holographic form analyzing multiple data streams simultaneously. The quantum resonance patterns, They're forming some kind of language. Jasmine nodded, not looking up from her work. Not just a language, a translation matrix. The Starweave isn't just a power distribution system or even a consciousness network. It's a universal translator, designed to bridge not just different species, but different forms of existence itself. The counselor's hologram sputtered. Preposterous. You expect us to believe the ancients built a galaxy-spanning power grid just to facilitate conversation? Why not? Jasmine finally looked up, her eyes bright with discovery. Think about it. What's the greatest challenge facing any advanced civilization? Not energy, not resources, not even space travel. It's understanding. Real, deep understanding between different forms of consciousness. She gestured to the beings in the room. Crystalline, energy, holographic, and organic, each perceiving reality in fundamentally different ways. How do you translate the experience of a crystalline being into something an energy consciousness can truly comprehend? How do you help a quantum eye understand organic emotions? The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. High-Archon Zilith's crystalline form sparkled with sudden insight. The power distribution was just the foundation, Jasmine confirmed. The ancients built a system that could translate not just languages, but experiences, consciousness itself. The energy grid provides the infrastructure, but the real purpose is connection, pure, direct understanding between all forms of sentient life. Just then, the Starweave pulsed with new energy. The quantum patterns it had been generating coalesced into something unprecedented, a harmonious blend of all known forms of consciousness. Crystalline structures danced with energy patterns, while quantum algorithms merged with organic neural signatures. Look, Crix exclaimed. The distortions across the galaxy, they're not random at all. Each affected system is adapting to communicate with different forms of consciousness. Ixal's containment shell hummed with excitement. The poetry-generating AIs were learning to express themselves in ways organic beings could understand. Jasmine finished. Just as the quantum distortions were the system's attempt to communicate with energy beings. It's all part of the translation matrix. The counselor's hologram flickered uncertainly. But the power fluctuations, the system failures, growing pains, Jasmine said softly, adjusting her instruments to match the new harmonics. The system has been dormant for millennia, waiting for a civilization diverse enough to need its true purpose. When we started using it just for power distribution, it began trying to wake up, to fulfill its real function. What we saw as malfunctions were actually attempts at communication. High-Archon Zilith moved through the holographic displays, watching as the Starweave's patterns grew more complex yet more harmonious. If you're right, this changes everything. Not just technology, but the very nature of galactic civilization. That's why it responded to music, Jasmine explained, her hands dancing across her hybrid instruments. Music is one of the few universal languages, a way to express emotion and meaning across different forms of consciousness. The ancients used it as a base template for their universal translator. The chamber filled with new harmonics as the Starweave responded to her adjustments. But this time, something was different. Each being in the room began to experience something profound. A deep, fundamental understanding of how the others perceived reality. Zilith felt the pure joy of energy consciousness, while Ixal experienced the crystalline beauty of ordered structure. Crix's holographic form resonated with organic emotions, and Jasmine felt them all. A symphony of consciousness played across the strings of space-time itself. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, watching as the patterns spread across the galaxy. "The real question is, are we ready for what comes next?" The answer came in the form of new alarms, but these were different from the warnings of system failure. The Starweave was building toward something, a crescendo of consciousness that would either unite the galaxy in understanding or tear reality apart at the seams. And at the heart of it all, a human played her impossible instruments, conducting a symphony of existence itself. The next 12 hours in the Galactic Engineering Institute witnessed a revolution in both science and consciousness. As the Starweave's true purpose emerged, so did the challenges of controlling such tremendous power. The quantum resonance is spreading faster than we can monitor, Crix reported, his holographic form splitting into multiple instances to track the expanding patterns. Every system connected to the Starweave is experiencing transformation. Jasmine stood at her modified control station, now resembling a cross between a concert hall's mixing board and a quantum supercomputer. Her fingers danced across various controls, adjusting frequencies and harmonics as she attempted to guide the awakening system. "We need to maintain balance," she muttered, more to herself than the others. Too much consciousness transfer too quickly could overwhelm unprepared minds. The ancients must have had a way to regulate the flow. First Engineer Ixel's energy form pulsed with newfound understanding as he experienced reality through the perspectives of his colleagues. The crystalline matrices. They're not just conduits, they're buffers. "Exactly," Jasmine exclaimed. "High Archon, your people's natural crystalline structure is crucial to this. You're not just engineers, you're natural resonance regulators." High Archon Zilith's form shimmered as she processed this revelation. For centuries, her species had prided themselves on their engineering achievements, never realizing their very nature made them perfect mediators for the galaxy's greatest technological marvel. "The Centauri colonies are reporting strange phenomena," Crix announced. "Residents are experiencing memories and emotions that aren't their own. The quantum AI networks are generating art that captures organic experiences they've never had. It's beautiful, but potentially destabilizing." Jasmine nodded, making rapid adjustments to her equipment. "We need to establish a baseline harmony, something all forms of consciousness can relate to, a foundation for the translation matrix to build upon." She reached for her modified violin, the instrument now glowing with quantum energy. "Everyone, focus on your most fundamental experience of existence, the thing that makes you, you." As she began to play, the chamber filled with impossible music, notes that shouldn't exist in normal space-time, harmonies that spoke directly to consciousness itself. The Starweave responded, its patterns shifting to match the melody. High Archon Zilith felt her crystalline structure resonate with the music, naturally amplifying and regulating the consciousness transfer. Ixel's energy form danced with the quantum harmonics, while Crix's holographic matrices realigned to process the new patterns. "It's working," Jasmine said between notes, her eyes closed in concentration. "The Starweave is establishing baseline consciousness protocols. Look at the harmonic convergence patterns." The holographic displays showed the spread of consciousness translation across the galaxy. Where there had been chaos, now emerged order, not the rigid structure of traditional engineering, but the flowing harmony of natural systems. But just as they seemed to be gaining control, a new alarm sounded. "Quantum surge detected," Crix announced, his form flickering with concern. "The Starweave is accessing deeper consciousness layers than we anticipated. It's reaching into fundamental reality itself." The chamber's crystal walls began to pulse with energy as space-time itself seemed to bend around them. Through the quantum harmonics, each being present began to experience not just each other's consciousness, but the very fabric of the universe's awareness. "The ancients," Jasmine gasped, her hands never stopping their work at the controls. "They didn't just build a consciousness translator. They built a way to communicate with the universe itself." First Engineer Ixel's containment shell crackled with energy. "That's impossible. The universe isn't conscious, isn't it?" Jasmine challenged, adjusting her instruments to match the new frequencies. "What do you think gravity is?" "Dark energy. The fundamental forces that hold reality together. They're all patterns, rhythms, harmonies playing out across billions of light years." Through the Starweave's translation matrix, they could feel it, the deep rhythmic pulse of space-time, the dance of quantum particles, the song of gravity waves rippling through the cosmos. The universe wasn't just alive, it was singing. "We have to make a choice," Jasmine announced, her voice steady despite the enormous implications. "We can shut it down now, return to using the starwave as just a power grid. Or we can learn to play in the universe's symphony." High Archon Zilith finished, her crystalline form resonating with newfound purpose. The decision was interrupted by a massive surge in the starweave's energy patterns. The consciousness translation was accelerating, spreading across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. Species that had never understood each other were suddenly sharing experiences, emotions, understanding. Final quantum threshold approaching, Crix reported, his holographic form struggling to process the data. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." Jasmine looked at her colleagues, each representing a different form of consciousness, each now understanding the others in ways previously unimaginable. "I can't make this decision alone. We either become part of the greatest harmony ever known, or we stay safe in our separate songs." The chamber filled with the music of consciousness itself as they faced their moment of choice. The fate of galactic civilization hung in the balance, poised between the familiar past and an unprecedented future. And in the heart of the Galactic Engineering Institute, surrounded by the quantum symphony of existence, they prepared to make a decision that would reshape the very nature of consciousness itself. Time seemed to bend in the crystalline chamber of the Institute as reality itself held its breath. The starweave's consciousness matrix hovered on the edge of full activation, waiting for the decision that would change everything. 20 seconds until quantum threshold, Crix announced, his holographic form now a kaleidoscope of data patterns. The consciousness harmonics are reaching critical resonance. Jasmine's hands moved across her hybrid control station with practiced precision, each adjustment keeping the massive system balanced on the knife edge between transformation and chaos. Through the starweave's partial connection, everyone present could feel the weight of the moment. Billions of minds across the galaxy, each about to be touched by a wave of universal understanding. "The ancients left us a choice," she said, her voice steady despite the enormous pressure. "The final activation requires conscious participation. We have to choose to be part of the symphony." High Archon Zilith's crystalline form pulsed with the combined emotions of countless beings. "All these centuries, we thought we were preserving their technology. Instead, we were preparing for their legacy." 15 seconds, Crix called out. First Engineer Ixel's energy form swirled with newfound clarity. The mathematical harmony, the quantum resonance, it was never about power distribution. It was about evolution. The next step in consciousness itself. Through the starweave's growing connection, they could feel it all, the hopes, fears, dreams, and possibilities of every connected species. Crystalline beings experiencing organic emotions, energy consciousness touching physical sensation, artificial intelligences understanding biological intuition. And beneath it all, the deep rhythmic pulse of the universe itself, waiting to be heard. 10 seconds. Jasmine's modified instruments sang with impossible harmonies, helping to guide the consciousness transfer. Each form of existence brings its own note to the symphony. The ancients didn't want us to choose one way of being. They wanted us to experience them all. Multiple quantum breaches detected, Crix reported. Reality interfaces are shifting. The chamber's crystal walls began to sing, resonating with frequencies that existed somewhere between matter and consciousness. Through the growing connection, each being present experienced a fraction of what was to come, a unity of understanding that transcended traditional boundaries of existence. 5 seconds. Wait. The council representative's hologram burst into existence. "You can't make this decision for the entire galaxy." "We're not," Jasmine replied, her fingers never stopping their dance across the controls. "The starwave requires voluntary participation. Every connected consciousness has to choose to be part of the harmony. That's what makes it different from mere technological control. It's an invitation, not a command." 3 seconds. High Archon Zilith moved to Jasmine's side, her crystalline form automatically helping to regulate the quantum frequencies. A symphony requires both musicians and listeners, each choosing to participate in the greater whole. 2 seconds. First engineer Ixel's energy form merged with his containment shell in a new way, representing the unity of different states of existence. The ancients didn't just give us technology. They gave us possibility. 1 second. In that final moment, Jasmine played one last harmony on her modified violin, a bridge between the physical and the quantum, the organic and the digital, the individual and the universal. The note hung in the air like a question, waiting for an answer. And across the galaxy, consciousness after consciousness made their choice. The starweave activated. Reality shifted. And then, the symphony began. It wasn't chaos, as the skeptics had feared. It wasn't homogenization, as the critics had warned. It was harmony. Billions of different notes playing together in an ever-evolving song of existence. Through the starweave's translation matrix, each being could experience reality through all other perspectives, while maintaining their own unique consciousness. Crystalline beings danced with quantum algorithms. Energy beings shared dreams with organic minds. Artificial intelligences explored emotions, while biological beings touched digital perception. And through it all, the deep consciousness of the universe itself provided a baseline harmony that united every note in the cosmic symphony. "It's beautiful," Crix whispered, his holographic form now able to truly feel the wonder he expressed. "It's just the beginning," Jasmine replied, making subtle adjustments to help guide the consciousness harmonics. "The ancients gave us the instruments. Now we have to learn to play them." High Archangel crystalline form sparkled with newfound purpose. All our technological achievements, all our scientific progress, they were preparing us for this moment, not to conquer the galaxy with power, but to unite it with understanding. First engineer Ixel's energy form pulsed with what could only be called joy, and it took a human with primitive musical instruments to show us what was possible all along. Jasmine smiled, watching the quantum displays show the spread of harmony across space. Humans are good at finding music in unexpected places. Sometimes the most advanced technology requires the simplest wisdom to understand. Through the starwave, they could feel new possibilities emerging. Species that had warred for centuries found common ground in shared experience. Scientific breakthroughs emerged from the combination of different consciousness perspectives. Art, music, and literature evolved into forms that could be appreciated across all modes of existence. The universe itself seemed to sing with approval, its fundamental forces harmonizing with the consciousness of its inhabitants in ways that would keep scientists and philosophers busy for millennia to come. "So," Jasmine asked, her hands still dancing across her hybrid controls, "shall we see what the next movement of this symphony brings?" And as the galaxies turned in their cosmic dance, as consciousness flowed across the quantum highways of the starweave, as understanding bridged the gaps between all forms of existence, a new age began, one where the music of life itself played across the stars, and every being could choose to add their own unique note to the universal song. The greatest engineering project in history had become the greatest art form in the universe, and somewhere, perhaps, the ancients were smiling at the harmony their heirs had finally achieved. The end.